coming to the East to find the bits of wisdom that we have here, I thought, why not explore India when I'm already here? And what better way to know a country if not for its philosophy? So this course was offering an elementary introduction to philosophy, that to Indian philosophy, and it sounded perfect to get me started.
Well, despite being in engineering, I was always fascinated with philosophy and the idea of being a philosophy student. But there's already a lot of content already available on Western philosophy, online or everywhere. You can find these courses on Nietzsche, Socrates, Schopenhauer, all of those things. But the idea of an Indian philosophy, you don't get to hear that every day. And of course, it was very new to me. So I saw this course and took the chance to get to know about it.
I've been interested in philosophy for a long time now, and I was trying to take up any course related to philosophy even during my first year. But the big reason why I took Indian philosophy was actually not really related to the course itself. It was more about the way it was being taught. So when I was registering the courses, my friend called and told me that so the professor here is teaching about philosophy using giving examples of films and using Matrix and Interstellar, Inception. And the minute he told me that philosophy is being taught using movies, I was sold.
So the reason why I took Indian philosophy is fairly simple. I wanted to understand the Indian context of things. So till now we have learned and we have seen Western ideas, Western philosophies, Western cultures and thoughts. Now, me taking this subject was just an attempt to understand the same ideas, cultures and thoughts in an Indian context.
I always thought of it more as practice oriented, like things we do and believe in everyday life, regardless of religious belief. And also the idea of a soul maintenance that we see in the Gita or other religious beliefs. Never had I thought whether the soul even exists the way we think of it.
I thought that Indian philosophy would be laden with customs, rituals, and superstitions, and that most of it would be devoid of logic. I also sought to find an explanation in Indian philosophy that what we are today as India is somehow related to what we were, and maybe I will find answers in Indian philosophy to that.
So when I took up Indian philosophy, what I thought it will be was that it will just be a Indian type of an explanation to all the ideas and thoughts that we have learned under Western philosophy or we have seen under Western philosophy.
Honestly, I had no idea what Indian philosophy was going to be. I obviously thought it would be, things related to the things that those pundits do. I genuinely thought I was going to learn some or the other mantra, but no, that was absolutely not the case, and I'm happily surprised.
So now that I have actually learned quite a few things in Indian philosophy, I feel that Indian philosophy is very cool. I mean, the ideas and the thoughts and the notions that you come across in Indian philosophy, they are so different, yet they are so fascinating that it is kind of hard to believe that people back in 200 BC and all those eras were able to think about such ideas in this way. So honestly, if I were to describe Indian philosophy in one word, I feel that it is pretty cool.
So after attending the course, I feel like, just like Shiva's, my third eye has awakened. So many stereotypes that I had in mind have been destroyed. I'm so happy that they have. The amount of skepticism, the amount of wild ideas that people in our culture had is astounding, and I'm so happy that I was able to learn it.
I think it is brutally honest, and I appreciate the difference between toxic positivity and brutal honesty, the latter one being the much better one. For example, say Buddhism. It doesn't smother you with the blissful thoughts in life. It just says that what is ultimately true is suffering. And only when you have accepted the truth of suffering can you ever come out of it.
Now that I have studied this course, I find that the diversity of intellectual thought is remarkable and nothing like we've ever seen, even when compared to Western philosophy. People have always championed the existential and abstract philosophies that we find in Europe, but now I realize that even denser and darker and even more sophisticated ideas have been strongly proposed in Indian philosophy.
The theory that I like the most, um, I absolutely loved Buddhism. I absolutely loved Buddhism. When the professor told us about these theories of Pratitya Samutpad and how there is no self, and how in a very simple way they explained the process of rebirth, I still remember writing down in my journal, literally writing down mind blowing, because I absolutely lost it.
The one school of philosophy that I found the most intriguing was the Mimamsa school. It is like the epitome of Brahmin orthodoxy, and yet it does not believe in the idea of a supreme creator god. Now, what we see in India today, it is very remarkable and it is very extraordinary for us to believe that such a school existed, and yet it is there in Indian philosophy.
It is difficult to choose one intriguing idea because each new one that we learn is more interesting than the last. But I find the idea of the philosophy of the Nyayas remarkable because of their extreme reliance on logic, rational thought, and debate, and the ideas of the way you perceive knowledge and information, something that today, in the age of misinformation, we must take notes from.
So, for me, the most intriguing part about Indian philosophy is the fact that there are certain schools of thoughts which completely refute the idea of God. I mean, can you believe it? There are schools of thoughts which outrightly come and tell you that, okay, there is no God. There is no place for God in their entire setup. And that is so mind blowing. I mean, from the time we were born, that is the first thing that we are told that, oh my God, there is God. It is he who is doing everything. He's the creator, destroyer, and everything. But when you learn Indian philosophy and when you actually come across these concepts, you will find schools of thoughts and you will find religions that will completely, outrightly, and so beautifully refute the idea of God. And I find that really intriguing.
Well, I remember this really fantastic Hindi movie that I saw called Aankho Dekhi. And after we learned some schools of thought, I realized there were great parallels between the Nastika school and the philosophy that Sanjay Mishra's character followed in the movie. That was the idea of believing only what you perceive for yourself with your own eyes and rejecting everything else, including God. And at the same time, I also found with this movie a contemporary modern subject that could embody these sophisticated ideas, most of which are older than a millennia.
I wrote a paper on how organic food and organic lifestyle, the concept of it was actually derived from Indian philosophical traditions. So when I had a conversation with the owners of Gujarat's first organic store, I realized that what we were being taught in lectures was actually a way of life for some people. And that I realized that how strongly they adhere to the Jaina philosophy of ahimsa and then also to the Gandhian philosophy.
I decided to write my essay on the movie Inception, released in 2010, and connect Inception with certain ideas and thoughts which were stated in the era of early Buddhism. Now, me choosing this topic was because, I mean, like Inception, a movie released 10 years ago, versus early Buddhism, which came into India in around 5th, 6th century BCE. And I mean, I just thought it will be really interesting to connect those two things.
Well, why not? If Western philosophy is something that seems attractive to you and at the same time too abstract and out of reach, then try learning something which was conceived right here and which predates all commonly known schools of thought. But it's not just about going back to your roots, because you will not find an ounce of commonly known so called Indian thought in Indian philosophy. And that itself is one of the biggest reasons to study it. It will literally change the way you look at things.
So the reason why I feel that anybody should study Indian philosophy is first of all to break their myths that all the norms and the traditions that we are surrounded by now are a result of something which is stated in the Vedas and our early Purans. Trust me, that is not the case. I mean, it's only when you go through these literatures and these scripts, you will come to know that these scriptures never promote racism. They never consider a woman as inferior or a male as superior. There is no mention about patriarchy. There is no mention about so many rules that we follow blindly and we just put the onus on our early scriptures, and that is really not the case. So, to burst our myth, I feel that somebody should really consider studying Indian philosophy. Also, because Indian philosophy itself is so fascinating. I mean, it is so beautiful. You come across so many ideas that you never thought could actually even exist. And no matter how weird you feel these ideas are, but the logic which supports these ideas is so strong that, trust me, guys, you will not be able to, defy them. It's really logical. It is complicated yet beautiful. It is fascinating. I mean, honestly, I feel that Indian philosophy is something that one should at least study once in their lifetime if you have a chance.
Indian philosophy, I think, is probably the best thing that happened to me in 2020. And I would encourage anybody with even a bit of curiosity to check it out, because it reveals and opens up your mind to so many perspectives that you'll be absolutely grateful for.
If one wants to dive out of the realm of binary, Indian philosophy is the place to be. And much better than expected, Indian philosophy will explain all of that non binary with some rationality and outstanding logic.